I'd like to call the September 23rd, 2019 Village Board meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Trustee Stapleton?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
This evening, we'll be starting with Trustee McCafferty.
Here.
Snagowski.
Here.
Stapleton.
Here.
Kittredge. Here. Kwasniewski.
Here.
Maher.
Okay, great. Okay, we're going to start with the consent agenda. We do have one change. In the mayor's report, the public hearing on bond issuance notification, we're going to move that to later in the meeting. I believe it was posted in the paper at 7 p.m. So just to make things official, we'll make sure we have that public hearing. I'm sure there's going to be a flood of people that come in for that, right, Chris? It's 7 o'clock sharp. So first off, the consent agenda consists of approval of minutes for the September 9th Village Board meeting minutes, the September 16th Village Board Cow meeting minutes, the approval of disbursements, an ordinance amending section 9.20.60, video gaming permitted, of chapter 9.20 gambling of Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of the Village Code. Also, a resolution approving an amendment to the Master Services Agreement between Quicket Solutions and the Village of Lamont, and also a resolution authorizing the approval of a memorandum of understanding with IMP LLC. I need a motion.
So move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Stapleton, seconded by Trustee McClafferty. I do think on the minutes for the cow, George, I believe there might be one somewhat misleading issue. I think there was 4 sites issued for the signage.
Correct, yeah, there's 2 sentences that are a little bit contradictory. We talked about 4 sites for the signage, including Lamont Road, Archer Avenue, and 127th Street, along with McCarthy Road. But it went into the minutes that we were going to move forward with McCarthy Road as well, and we are not. We're just moving forward with the 3 signs as the primary implementation.
Great.
So we'll clean that up for the
Okay.
books.
Any other questions?
I've
or-
got one question, Mayor.
Yeah, sure.
This on disbursements, Bruno's tuck pointing, $9,000, bowl repairs. Ralph, can you give me some more info on that? Because what I recall in that, we're kind of out of the equation on the stonework back there. That's private property, so what is this?
Sure, there's 2 separate areas that needed repair. The one area that we are responsible for is the bowl castle. The staircase coming down off the bowl and the side of the castle needed repair in the end cap. So that's what you're seeing. It's not the actual staircase that wraps around the bowl.
Okay.
So it's just the
On
responsibility of the
the
village.
castle's still under our domain?
It is, yes.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty.
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Kittredge.
Yes.
Kwasniewski.
Yes.
Maher.
Okay, motion approved. Like I mentioned, we'll do the public hearing later on in the meeting. Next up, mayor's mention, got several things going on around and about town. First off, our farmers market, Tuesdays on Telcott, is tomorrow and every Tuesday through the month of October. Again, this is from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Telcott parking lot. Please visit our website, lamont.il.us/farmers market for more information. Lamonster Days kick off this week with activities throughout the month of October. There is so much going on, and you can find the events posted throughout Lamonster Days on our Facebook page, website, and community calendar. Please visit lamont.il.us/Lamonster Days. From Fall Fest at the Park District, the Chambers Witches Walk, to Haunted History Bus Tour, to the Haunted Canal Hay Rides, the Trail of Scarecrows competition, and our Halloween hoedown. There is fun for all ages, so please check that out. Bring your family and friends and enjoy. Also, the first Le Monster Days event starts this Thursday, the 26th, which is our 8th annual Autumn Craft Beer Tasting, sponsored by our Rotary Club of Lamont and Homer Glen. Again, all proceeds benefit the Lamont community. Please call 815-370-4942 for more information. And again, in addition, start getting your Halloween decorations out and joining the Lamont Park District Lamonster Manor Home Decorating Contest. Registration is free, and the registration form is on our website. So please visit the Park District website as well at lamontparkdistrict.org. The Park District Drive-In Movie Night is this Saturday, September 28th at 7 p.m. at Centennial in the South Parking Lot with one of my oldies favorite movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The cost is $5 per car. Call the Park District with questions. Also, please mark your calendar. We will hold a recreational marijuana legislation public information meeting on October 8th at 6:30 p.m. To relay information to our residents on the subject. More information will be provided closer to that date. Also, again, we've been working with IDOT on the construction project at Route 83 in Main Street. And again, we get the emails, we get the calls, and we are as frustrated as all of our residents are with the lack of progress on this very congested intersection. Locally, we have shared this information with our local leaders, Senator Curran, Minority Leader Durkin. And we've had special meetings with them as well as working with IDOT. Again, we know this is frustrating, and I know there are always excuses of why this is delayed, but it does not help with the frustration that we feel on our end. Ralph, I know you have a little bit more information on this, but I believe originally they said this is going to be completed by the end of last year. They got kicked to this year. We heard November of this year. However, I just know the track record of what's going down on 159th Street from Orland all the way to 355. Again, when someone says November, I say November of what year, right? So do you have any more to share on that, Ralph?
Sure, I received an update from IDOT this morning. Basically what the issue is, they're claiming, all I can do is tell you what they tell me, is rock. They're running into a lot of rock when they're digging the holes for the streetlights, for the traffic signals, for the guardrails. For the streetlights, I guess they have 33 of 43 holes dug already, so they're anticipating a couple more weeks there. Then they'll start the traffic signals. They have some heavy-duty equipment coming in to do that job, and then they'll start the guardrails and the medians, and then they'll do the blacktop. So they're still claiming, hopefully by Thanksgiving, to have everything open. I hope that's the case, but that is the update, and I have posted that on our website from IDOT.
Great, thanks, Ralph, appreciate it. And again, you know, this is frustrating. Hopefully, we can get this done by year end, and hopefully we don't have the rain like we had in the springtime, because I believe that was another issue they communicated to us. So with that being said, I know we try on a monthly or at least every other month basis, update everyone on the economic progress we're having around town. Again, over the last 2 years, you know, we're committed to economic progress. We made great strides over the last 2 years, from south of town of working with Homer, annexing in new land. We have a new gas station that's going to serve the west and south part of town. Right now, residents do not have an access to a gas station if you're on the west or south part of town. It's going in on Archer and State Street, that's south of Target. As you move forward north, we've made great progress. We've worked on getting a full-time breakfast place in town, from basically 6 in the morning to 2 to 3 at Fork and Spoon. Hearing great reviews about that. We're filling empty storefronts along all of our strip malls, specific to the Jewel, specific to Japan's. Japan's, our beloved grocery store in town. Fortunately, we were able to fill it. They put the Pete sign up today, so check that out. Again, that's a big win in a town like ours to have 2 grocery stores. So, again, thanks to Jason Berry and his economic development team and George. Again, we're making great progress. We filled the bowling alley. The bowling alley was empty for several years. Moving to downtown. Again, downtown is an emphasis of development. We've opened up several new stores and shops and restaurants, from Wooden Paddle to Cornerstone to Diggs on Canal to the Lamont grocery store to Huey's. These are storefronts that and establishments that are serving our people. And these are quality establishments. We continue to make the downtown, an emphasis. Obviously, our next project that we've heard quite a bit of information on and questions is the Peterson Hardware Store as well. Again, we've been talking about that for a couple years, publicly in newsletters, as well as the mayor's, annual village address. Again, we got some great opportunities there. Moving to the east side of town, we have the Forge. Check out Cranes. We just had a great article in there. That's going to be a destination business, probably something that is probably going to be one of the biggest things that comes to Lamont, if it all comes to fruition like we think it can. Moving farther east, we continue to get development. We now have a plan for 83 in Maine. This was property purchased by the village over the last 10 plus years. We have a mixed-use potential plan going in there. We've cleaned up some of the junk sites there. We've replaced them with, viable, again, industrial businesses. But, again, we've cleaned that up with the help of private practices. In addition, in the next week or two, we're hearing that Rosebuds is opening up. Again, filling an empty storefront. We've had several businesses that we've helped accelerate additional build-outs, anywhere from Aldi's to Three Corners to Pollyanna's. Again, this is all made possible by the plans we've put in place and also the hard work of staff. So again, I want to thank Jason and the entire staff here, George, Mark, everyone here has done a phenomenal job as far as bringing in quality development. Again, we are looking for quality development, shops and stores that residents want and need. We talk about, the new possible development that's going on Elsie's property, the Old Ace Hardware. Again, we want quality development. This is something that we've worked on for 2 years. We've had 7 developers come into town. We've had developers that want to put in cookie cutter stuff that meets code. We have to discourage that. We have as our job to try and put in the best possible development in there. Yes, we've talked about skylines. Yes, we've talked about underground parking. These are all potential issues that we need to deal with. But again, our job is try and make the best possible development there. So with that being said, again, as we move forward, we're looking for additional feedback from the public. I know that with this development, obviously, when ready and required, and when we hear more about the Elsie's property, it will be reviewed by the HPC. The HPC has reviewed it, and they've approved demolition on the north side, but not the south side. As they have better plans, they will produce that to the HPC. As we move forward and they submit plans, they've not submitted any plans. The only thing we know is what is on their website, same as what everyone else has seen. I believe the website is, what is it, MarabellaLLC.com?
Marbella LLC.
Yeah,
M-A-R-B-E-L-L.
Yeah, .com. That's all we've seen. They've not submitted any plans yet. When ready and required, it will be reviewed by HPC, Planning and Zoning, and of course, the Village Board. Again, if their plans do not require planning and zoning and they meet the code, then they can go ahead and move forward. However, that's something we discourage. We always try and want to make sure that we have some input, both through planning and zoning as well as the village board. In addition, the village board had some foresight. We know that the downtown is very important to our community. We've just started a new downtown community group. We had a first initial meeting. We had several members that submitted to be commissioners on this. We will be moving forward with this, I believe, in early October. Please stay tuned to the website for the next meeting. I know Janelle, you will be the trustee involved in this. And again, all of our meetings are posted on the village website, and everyone from the community is open to attend. The village launched an online list of development projects to provide shared free access to every document that is part of our public hearing process. This recently was completed when, Jason? This new? In June. Again, all new projects are on there, and you can find that on the website. It is at www.lamont.il/development-projects. Just so everyone understands, the HPC meets on the second Thursday. Is it Thursday or Wednesday? HPC, second Thursday of every month. The PZZ meets on the first Wednesday of every month. Obviously, the village board, we hold our meetings typically on the second and fourth Mondays of every month, and the committee of whole on the third Monday of every month. The newly created downtown committee, again, stay tuned. The first official meeting with the committee members will be in this coming October. This group, again, will be another public meeting to share ideas, thoughts about the downtown, and also to share the planning that's been going on over the last decade plus, as well as more current future planning as well. And again, all agendas and packets are posted on the village website. Please check out our village calendar for additional meeting information. All right. That pretty much wraps up the mayor's mention. I will say, you know, we've heard questions and comments. We've heard, you know, and seen some stuff that borderlines misinformation as well as potential propaganda. Again, we encourage everyone. If you have questions and comments, as always, submit them to us. We post them, and we'll post them online. Again, we do not want to mislead people. We don't want propaganda out there to mislead people or to mix facts. That's not what this is about. This is, if we have specific questions, we will address those, as always, in a Q&A section. Will we have that on our website, George, or will that be a...
It'll be on our website.
Okay, and again, we will, so please submit those. With that being said, we're up, next up on the agenda is our audience participation. If you would like to participate, again, please come up to the microphone. This is being broadcasted. Please limit it to 2 to 3 minutes if possible for those people at home. And again, if you're comfortable mentioning your name, please do so as well. So would anyone like to come up for audience participation?
Kathy Hendrickson. Do you want my address too, or just the name?
No.
Okay. So I just have a couple comments based on some of the comments that made by you, Mr. Mayor. I'm kind of confused because the new Downtown Revitalization Committee met with the developer who's proposing the development of Ace Hardware Peterson's. So it was held, I understand, it was a public meeting, it was held in his office or in the Staten Building. So that is where he has his new office, and he's working out of there now. So, you know, it sounded like he had a lot to do with that meeting based on the comment I heard from the public. So he was involved in that. He was sharing his plan. It has been pretty public, this Marabella plan. It's been on the patch, what he'd like to do with Peterson. So I don't consider that propaganda when you have a developer who has put it on the patch newspaper a couple times. People are talking about it, concerned about it. The downtown area, and I know you said it, and we all agree on that, is really the heart of our village. It's where we began. We evolved every other community around it. It's very, very precious to us. So we are going to be very protective about what goes in there, obviously. And I understand that this developer has not officially applied, but there's been a lot of work, I'm sure, with him in regards to his plan, and some of that does call for 5 stories, which does deviate from our downtown ordinances. I was personally involved in those planning meetings that the community held with the Hitchcock plan, and we had Marquette involved. We had you had Charette, I believe it was, that went around, and they got a lot of public input. So a lot of people from the village, a lot of residents had contributed to that plan. From that plan, the village board obviously did write our downtown ordinances. And I was one of 200 people that were in this room when Mayor Piazza proposed that at a public hearing, and we all were happy with it. I think only 3 people out of the 200 in the room even spoke against the ordinance or the plan, changing the ordinances. So it seems to me that those ordinances were, you know, the information and the input was collected by all the residents in Lamont, or many of them, and they should, I think they work. I think that I was happy with them, and I think we should really do our best to follow them. I just, I look at that corner, and I see what I would see coming over the bridge, which is, you know, our downtown steeples, but also what we see when we're at a car show or wherever we're at. I mean, I like seeing the bridge and people coming over the bridge into our community. So the view is very important to a lot of people, and the look and feel of our downtown is important. And I think over 3 stories would definitely change that. You know, I don't understand why we would even consider deviating or lead someone to believe that 5 stories would even be okay. I mean, legally, I know we have to entertain all ideas for development. We have to listen to them. I've been around the development process here in Lamont for 20 years, so I get that part. But it just seems like we've gone a little farther than just pre-planning process, and, you know, like has been said, for them to come into our historic meeting the other night, our historic district meeting, and not even have a plan or something to show. They're asking to destroy a 88-year-old building on the south side, you know, that still has some historic significance. So I didn't think that was appropriate. That was him, or the developer, that applied for that demolition. I know that the motivation is to try to balance a budget, to try to bring in more commercial. You've talked about a lot of the commercial that has come into town, and I don't see the motivation for destroying the character of our downtown for commercial sales tax, residential tax. If you do it with 3 stories and you put 45 units there instead of 72, you're still going to be bringing in revenue. I understand that accounting is your background, and when you look at the budget, you're working very hard to balance the budget. You got your 1% sales tax. You spent $100,000 on signs the other night, and you're about to vote for that, or you just passed that. So I don't think we're hurting that bad in the community, that we need to accept a development like this to, you know, gather a little bit more revenue. I think we have to look at the big picture as a community, and we got to balance it. You've already deviated from change the ordinances on the residential to get more rooftops. That's done. Do not change our downtown ordinances. And I understand there's some changes coming on our planning and zoning this evening. And, you know, that is very disheartening for me. I feel like, you know, we've had someone on our planning and zoning board that's donated a lot of time, personal time, his expertise and as an engineer. And I know that you might want to move in a different direction, but I just want to publicly say that I disagree with that decision, and I hope that every trustee, before you make that decision this evening, will give that some considerate thought. You know, there's not too many people that would lend their expertise the way some of our planning board commissioners have done, and for 14 years. And, you know, you want to talk about any kind of issues with conflict, every one of us in this town, it crosses the line. It's a small town. There's a bunch of us that do business in a certain way, but we can all work that out. And it seems to me that, you know, in this case, this is just not a good decision. And I hope you take considerate thought before you make your vote on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else as far as public comment? Again, you want to state your name and, again, your comments of 2 to 3 minutes.
Been here before, know
Yeah.
know the program.
Yeah.
Rick Lightheart, Lamont resident. First of all, I do want to commend the mayor and the board for the progress, economic progress that has been made. It's obvious, and I'm thankful for that. But I have a confession to make. I was coming down Lamont Road, and I tried to look down on my village, and the loss was in the way. And I confess that I was not more dogmatic on stopping that loft development from going 4 or 5 stories high, because I couldn't see my village. When that loft went in, it wasn't supposed to be that high. And now I notice it every time, and I'm saddened that that happened. Hearing today about Joe Biden and his son and understanding how these government people and every bureaucrat makes money, and how these politicians start off with a salary of $400,000 and they end up with $27 million as a net worth, I began to realize, okay, this problem of money and investment in blind trust, this is a real issue here. And I don't mean here, but it's just an issue in politics. And so I felt a sadness today that I did not stand up harder on the lost development. I'm asking you, I'm not asking, I'm telling you, board members, do not let this building for the Petersons become a 5-story building. That is part of our history. You want to develop someplace else, please, anywhere else, but not that downtown area. 3 stories is plenty. I'm not crazy about the rentals, because I see what happens in Orland Park with the rentals and the police reports that go up, and people that can't enjoy the rentals because different people move in and problems. And so I see that. So, yeah, I don't like the rentals. I want the condominiums. But worst of all, do not make that thing over 3 stories high. I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't stand up 7 or 8 years ago when that loft was built. I just didn't have the power. I didn't understand. I really trusted my board members and the mayors and everybody at that time. When I came over that bridge a couple days ago, I looked up, for crying out loud, I knew I couldn't see in there. And I was so saddened that I could not see the history of Lamont. I couldn't see the history. It was gone. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. 3 stories is plenty. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else want to come up for public comment?
Alan Brown, and I am a resident of the village of Lamont. I agree with the previous comments about 5-story building. I don't think it fits in downtown Lamont. I've gotten used to the lofts, but I don't think we need buildings that big. You look at the village, kind of quaint, it's kind of nice. 5-story building, I think, will have a big impact on it. I didn't move to Naperville because I didn't want to be in a big town. They've got all those big buildings. I didn't want that. I came to Lamont. And the village was part of the reason why. I have another comment to make, and I'm looking around the room, and there's like 6 of us here. And, you know, shame on me, I don't go to the website all the time, but I think there's a big communication issue with what's going on in the village in these meetings. I mean, there's nobody here. And there may be some important things to discuss, but there's no one to discuss. You know, we have a thing, audience participation, but that's before maybe some of the more important things are discussed. You know, last time I was here was for Timber Run or whatever it's called now, and there was a part for audience participation, and then there was all the discussion on Timber Run, and no one stood up because no one knew that that was their chance to say anything. You know, there was no communication. The last time I was here, there was discussions about a retaining wall, and letters would be sent to all the people that it might affect, or, no, a fence, a privacy fence. I never received any notification. I have no idea what's going on there, but I think despite, you know, the website and the efforts, there's no communication going on. A lot of people don't go out to those websites. You know, not everyone has access maybe. It just seems that something's missing. And I think a better job could be done. I don't know if it's more frequent emails, more frequent letters. You know, we have the newsletter, but when I read that, I don't seem to get a lot out of it. Okay, there's a Scarecrow Festival, and there's, you know, all this stuff, but some of the more important stuff I don't think is being communicated. And I think that shows by the number of people here and 3 people standing up to say something. And I only found out about this 5-story building because someone called me and said, hey, do you know they're planning on potentially a 5-story building in town? And I wanted to see what the real story was, and I haven't really heard anything. So, my 2 cents.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, thank you. Next up, our clerk's report.
Thank you. The first ordinance, if passed this evening, would be O-75-19. And this is amending the Title IX, Chapter 9.08, false alarms of the Lamont, Illinois Municipal Code.
Okay, need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we got a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Chief, are you taking the lead on this?
Yes. So the department is proposing a process for billing businesses for chronic and excessive calls for service. It's similar to what we did for the false alarm billing, and it's set into the same section. What we want to do is incentivize businesses to address chronic and repeat issues with additional staffing and other solutions, rather than just repeatedly call the police when there's issues. They'll be billed on a quarterly basis. In each quarter, it wouldn't start until the 16th call for service, and then it would be billed at $250 from 15 to 19, and then over 20 in the individual quarter would be billed at $500 per call.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty,
Yes.
Snagowski,
Yes.
Stapleton,
Yes.
Kittredge,
Yes.
Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
The next item, if passed this evening, would be O-76-19. And this is amending Title III Revenue and Finance of the Municipal Code of the Village of Lamont to impose a municipal cannabis retailer's occupation tax.
Okay, need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Snagowski, seconded by trustee Kittredge. Chris, you gonna take the lead on this?
I'll take this one, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is really a little bit of a cleanup item, a precautionary measure that was recommended to us by our village attorney. In case, you know, definitely a hot topic at the Illinois Municipal League Conference last week was recreational marijuana. House Bill 1438 legalized the cultivation and use of or sale of marijuana for recreational use by people 21 and over. The bill passed both chambers, and the law will go into effect on January 1st. Well, it went into effect immediately. Many of the provisions will not go into effect till January 1st, but many towns are starting to figure out how we want to regulate. and how we want to interact with the bill. The bill does not prevent units of local government from enacting reasonable zoning ordinances, regulations, regulating, or even taxing the use of cannabis. However, it should be noted that local governments may not prohibit home growing or the responsible legal use of marijuana. So it is something, regardless, we are going to have to contend with from a local standpoint. The way in which Lamont will regulate it and work within the law will still have to be determined. As the mayor mentioned, during the mayor report, we're going to have a meeting here on October 8th where we're going to go through fairly comprehensively the bill. And we joked around, Chief Mayton has become a little bit of a marijuana expert. I'm sure he'd put that on your resume, Chief. But he's been speaking around the
Not
state. on-
firsthand, though. Right.
Yeah, make that clear, soundbite there. But no, I mean, there's a lot of intricacies to the law. They're still looking to clean up the law here during November veto session. So still a little bit of a learning curve from a standpoint of public safety, from zoning, even workplace. We're going to have to contend with it within the workplace, among everybody else. Everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's going through it right now. So on October 8th, we're going to have a pretty comprehensive review of the law, take questions. The chief will give a overview on the public safety side. We'll also have a little bit of a discussion on the different ways we can regulate it. We can go anywhere from prohibiting it from town, dispensaries, I should say, to allowing it in certain districts, making it a special use, permitted use. We'll get into all that. The reason why this item is up for review tonight, our attorneys have alerted staff to potentially an unintended consequence of the law, and hopefully it gets cleaned up, where should a dispensary show up in town, if the village allows it, or if it does show up after January 1st, the only way the village can realize it, the benefits from taxation. Again, the point of taxation is to kind of bring some revenue in to deal with the potential negative effects of having a dispensary in town. The only way to realize that tax is to approve an ordinance prior to October 1st. So it's our last meeting. Again, if a dispensary never shows up in town, or if the village decides to prohibit them.
September 30th, they're going to.
September 30th, or, yes, one or the other.
Don't miss by a day.
Then this resolution or ordinance becomes moot, and we can even rescind it. But just a precautionary measure, because we're running out of time, and we wanted to have our meeting here in October to talk about the issue. So just kind of a cleanup item. Again, we'll talk more in October.
Okay, thanks. George, any other questions or comments?
I'd like to grab that and just oversimplify it.
Sure, go ahead, Rick.
Bottom line is, as they go to pass laws, they volley back and forth, and things, as you know, go to the 11th hour in order to get passed. In that process, the dates change. This date did not change. In order to collect the tax, whether or not you want to put it in effect or not, ultimately, doesn't matter. To collect the tax, you must pass a bill, an ordinance, to allow you to collect off of the bill the tax by September 30th. That's it. If you don't do that, you missed the boat, no matter what you did. Whether you decide not to do it or to do it, it's too late to even think about collecting the tax if you missed that date. So we're going to pass it on that process without even knowing whether or not we're going to have a dispensary or play the game. But if we don't do this, it won't matter.
Well said, Rick. And we'll have our vote to see if he's right or not. Anyone else, any other comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Okay, motion approved.
The next item is a resolution, if passed this evening, and this is Resolution R-85-19. And this is approving a Class B real estate tax assessment classification for the property located at 13511 Main Street, Lamont, Illinois.
And this is a Class 6B real estate, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, based on that, need a motion to approve, please.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Stapleton, seconded by trustee Snagowski. Who's, J.C. taking the lead?
Yeah, Class 6B is a popular Cook County tax incentive. It reduces the rate of assessment for industrial properties and commercial properties in order to make Cook County more competitive with DuPage and Will County. So it's a really critical incentive for the village of Lamont. IMP LLC and Profit Logistics came to both the August and September Committee of the Whole to discuss their project. They purchased land on Main Street for over $1 million, and a building permit was issued for $1.25 million. So a significant improvement's being made in the property there. And for that reason, we support the 6B.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Okay, motion approved.
The next item, also a resolution, would be R-86-19, and this is approving Lucky Trip plat of subdivision, which is 13604 and 13624 South Archer Avenue lot consolidation.
Okay, need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Jason, are you
Yes.
taking the lead?
Yeah, this is a simple cleanup for land use purposes. Mayor, you mentioned earlier, there is a new gas station coming in at the corner of 135th and Archer in Will County. Lucky Trip purchased 2 lots there in Will County, which the village annexed. As part of the approval, we asked them to consolidate those into a single lot, which this resolution will do.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Any other question or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
And Maher.
Yes. Okay, motion approved.
The next item would be Resolution R-87-19, and this is approving the Business District Improvement Grants for August 31st, 2019 cycle in Lamont, Illinois.
Okay, need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Maher. Jason?
Yeah, again, we started with the mayor's message touting the village's economic prosperity, and this is one way to sustain it by reinvesting back in our business owners. The Lamont 2030 Comprehensive Plan called on the village to establish a community-wide facade and site improvement grant, which the village board did with this current budget. So congratulations for that. After passage of the budget, we advertised these grants. We received 9 applications. 8 were forwarded from the Historic Preservation Commission to the Committee of the Whole, and working with the trustees, we have a recommendation to fund each of those grants 50% or a maximum of $5,000, with the exception of one property, the 1891 Waterworks, which has asked to restore the historic Lamont limestone sign.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Any other questions or comments? Again, this is another way of investing in our town. We've, as a board, previous boards have gone through, the marketing as well as future signage. We just signed off on the signage today. Again, these are investments in capital improvements in our town. This is what makes our town envious of others. I mean, people want to come into a town where they know where they're going, and also towns that show a nice, vibrant, and upkept downtown. So again, this is another investment. With that being said, any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher.
Okay, motion approved.
Next item would be R-88-19, and this is approving the construction and installation of the gateway signage.
Okay, need a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Stapleton, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Ralph, you gonna take this?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mayor. So back in May, I started working with Parvin Klaus Sign Company to find locations and get some samples of what they can offer us for our gateway signage. And we have 3 locations we want to put these signs up at. It's 127th near Timberline Drive, Lamont Road just north of the overpass, and Archer Avenue just south of State Street near the Target Coles. With the work that we've put in with Parvin Klaus, with the design and the sampling, I would like the board to waive the bid process and sign the contract for Parvin Klaus not to exceed $73,200 for those 3 signs.
Okay, any questions or comments for Ralph on this project?
Were you able to find a stone color? You were talking about.
We're still customizing, it, and that's one thing to point out, that these signs can be customized to the location. So trustee Maher and I have been talking lately, and we don't want the sign too big and we don't want it too small, right? So each location is different. So they're customizable to the location. So these 3 signs are most likely gonna be different sizes, maybe not that you would notice, but they're going to be customizable, so. But yes, we're working with the colors to answer your question, yeah. I wanted to add a little bit more yellow to that gray. It looks too gray, so we are.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
McClafferty?
Yes.
Snagowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge?
Yes.
Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
No.
Okay, motion carries.
The next resolution would be R-89-19, and this is authorizing the award of a contract for Fremont Alley sanitary sewer.
Okay, need a motion, please.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Snagowski. Ralph, are you taking this one as
Yes, I
well?
am. Thank you, Mayor. So back at the end of May, we started receiving calls from residents over on Fremont Street in McCarthy. They were experiencing sewer backups in their homes, and we were able to open the sewer up at one point, and then it just it kept happening. So what we did was we had the sewer televised, and way before any of us were involved with this, a garage was built on top of the sewer, and that's where it was collapsed. But the rest of the pipe is garbage as well. It's an old clay sewer. So that's what you're seeing right here. There were 4 bids on this project, and Austin Tyler was the low bid at $60,156. And it's kind of turned into a safety, environmental issue right now, so
It's a combination sewer?
it is not.
It's not.
Strictly sanitary. So, staff recommendation is to award the contract to Austin Tyler for $60,156.
How old is that run offhand, Ralph? Do you have any idea?
I don't.
So it's, besides being clay, it's really old.
It's really old, and the garage that was built on top of it is really old too. So, it's back in the day.
So your point is, even if we fixed and repaired the area that's collapsed, the rest of it is ready to
You'd
go?
have to take the garage down and then probably rebuild it, but the rest of the pipe is trash as well.
How big is it?
It's an 8-inch clay.
So again, Ralph, history lesson, a lot of our sewage treatment started with no tunnels, right? Just basically creeks, right?
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that sneaks up on you, and we did not budget for this because it was after the budget process,
Yeah.
so.
Again, another water project that, and again, we run into these, right?
We do.
As far as wells breaking. Again, this is almost part of, that's something we should probably put in the budget process, probably $100,000 placeholder. I mean, because again, we had our well, 2 years ago? I mean, that was a big-time expense that broke.
That's common, but
Yeah.
we,
Yeah, but then there's elevators to consider. too.
yeah.
no
Yeah.
flow.
But where do you stop?
Ralph always wants fluff in the budget. I try to say, hey, if you put too much fluff in the budget, then you cut
I don't
good
like these as
programs
much
that
as
could
you
have
guys
been
don't
put in.
like
So we'll talk about, but and all kidding aside, I got to give credit to staff on this one. The fun stuff, right? Pete's Fresh coming into town, Rosebud, but the nuts and bolts of the town are the sewer, the water, and staff wanting and the willingness to go after a problem and solve it. We can't solve everyone's problems. I mean, you could argue maybe this is a private problem that 3 or 4 property owners could have gotten together and could have done a special service area. But at the end of the day, this is what we're here to do. If we can solve a problem, we should do it. And staff, they just get together as a work group and how can we address this issue and make the lives of residents a little bit more peaceful. Obviously, no one wants sewer backups and obviously a garage should not have been put on top of a pipe, but you're talking about 70, 80, 90, even longer years old, right, Jerry? I mean, things happen. So I got to commend staff just for the willingness to move forward. And this is what we do on a daily basis. We just evaluate where we can help and where we have to kind of move things around. But good job, staff. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Ralph. Any other questions, comments?
I just have one, what's gonna happen to the garage then? Is it gonna make it through this construction?
No,
or-
our new pipe is going to be not under the garage. It's going to
Okay,
be in the
you're
alley. So the residents, the four services that are on that new pipe will have to connect to it on their own.
Okay,
So, and they all know this already, so.
thanks.
Does that happen to be an alley that needs to be repaved?
Yes, it
Yes.
does, and they are doing it too.
Thanks, Ralph. All right, roll call, please.
Okay, McClafferty?
Yes.
Stengowski?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Kittredge? Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
All right, motion approved.
That's all I have this evening.
All right, thanks, Charlene. 7:25 kickoff is probably already started, so we're moving on here. Village Attorney Report.
Mayor, how about the hearing?
Okay, yeah, good, Ron, okay, let's do that now. We'll do that now. We'll do the, the public hearing on bond issuance notification. I need a motion to open the public hearing for this bond issuance notification.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Stapleton, seconded by trustee Snedekowski. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries. I will now read the official statement. This hearing will come to order. Let the record reflect that this is a public hearing being held pursuant to the requirements of Sections 10 and 20 of the Bond Issuance Notification Act of the State of Illinois as amended. Notice of this hearing was published on September 13, 2019 in the My Suburban Life, Lamont Edition newspaper, being a newspaper of general circulation in the village. This is a hearing regarding a plan to issue a not to exceed $3.6 million in aggregate principal amount of the village's taxable general obligation refunding bonds, also referred to as alternate revenue source, Series 2019, the refunding bonds, the proceeds of which will be used to advance refund a portion of the village's outstanding taxable general obligation bonds, the alternate revenue source. Series 2012B, known as the 2012B bonds, which were initially issued to finance land assembly, site preparation, including remediation, demolition, environmental studies, and related work, professional and other redevelopment project costs within or serving the Gateway redevelopment project area, capitalized interest and related facilities, improvements and costs, and B, pay for costs of issuance of the 2012 bonds, and pay certain costs of issuance of the bonds, and B, an issue not to exceed $6 million in aggregate principal amount of the village's general obligation bonds, waterworks and sewage alternate revenue source. Series 2019, also known as the water and sewer bonds, the proceeds of which will be used to finance the acquisition, construction, and installation of various improvements, extensions, and facilities of the system of the village and related facilities, improvements and costs, including the construction of a new water tower and a new well, and to pay certain costs of issuance of the bonds. The refunding bonds will be issued by the village in accordance with the provisions of Section 15 of the Local Government Debt Reform Act of the State of Illinois, as amended, and shall constitute a general obligation of the village, payable from A, incremental taxes derived from the village's Gateway TIF redevelopment project area, B, incremental taxes derived from the village's main Archer TIF district, C, the village's receipts of the retailer's occupation taxes, service occupation taxes, use taxes and service use taxes, D, the village's distributed share of the state of Illinois income taxes, and E, the ad valorem taxes of the village for which its full faith and credit have been irrevocably pledged, unlimited as to rate or amount. The water and sewer bonds will be issued by the village in accordance with the provisions of Section 15 of the Local Government Debt Reform Act of the State of Illinois, as amended, and shall constitute a general obligation of the village payable from the net revenues of the system, receipts of certain proceeds of the retailer's occupation taxes, service occupation taxes, use taxes, and service use taxes, and 3, ad valorem taxes of the village for which its full faith and credit have been irrevocably pledged, unlimited as to rate or amount. The public hearing is required by Section 10 and 20 of the Bond Issue Notification Act of the State of Illinois as amended, At the time and place set forth, the public hearing, residents, taxpayers, and other interested persons will be given the opportunity to express their views for or against the proposed plan of financing the issuance of the refunding bonds and the water and sewer bonds, and the purpose of the issuance of the refunding bonds and the water and sewer bonds. Okay.
Can you repeat that?
That's a mouthful. With that being said, would anyone like to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment.
Okay.
I want to oversimplify this for you. Bottom line is, we're taking out a $6 million loan. We're going to pay off that loan with revenues from those particular services. If we can't, then the village has the right to raise the taxes on all the voters, which is generally what happens whenever we borrow money. That's what it said.
Yes. And of course, that $6 million is a cap, not necessarily a
Correct.
commitment.
So it's our intent to pay for based on revenues from the services provided. If we can't, then that is the alternate revenue source, which is the full faith pledge by the village to collect additional taxes.
And we will have additional public meetings regarding if this money will be issued and what it will be spent on.
And then
Chris?
additionally, the first section of it is we are refunding a portion of $3.6 million worth of bonds, which will give us savings of over
Thanks, Chris.
$600,000.
The original whole reason to do it is to save over $700,000.
Yes, for the first. There's two issuances here that we're having a public hearing for.
So
yes.
one is, this debt will refund, it's like refinancing your house, right, Chris?
Yes.
Hey, you got an interest rate of 5%, it's now 3%. This is an example, not necessarily the rates, but in total, we will save the village $600,000 to $700,000.
For this issuance, it's 640. The other issuance that we did not
70.
have to do a public hearing for because we're not changing we're not adding the main and Archer TIF to it. It's a different financing. That one we will about 70,000. So altogether with all the refunding, we will save about $713,000.
713, so that will be the principal piece to repay that off and refinance it. We'll save 710. Any monies above and beyond that, we will discuss at future meetings if we so choose to take additional debt out above and beyond that.
Correct.
But that limit again is $6 million, so.
Yes, that's.
Thanks for the summation there, Rick. Any other questions or comments? All right, with that being said, need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Okay, motion by trustee Snagowski, seconded by trustee Kittredge. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay. All right, so that takes care of our public hearing on the bond issuance. Moving forward, no village attorney report, is that correct?
You had enough legalese there.
Okay. It's a mouthful,
Got
right?
enough for a month.
You don't want to hear anymore.
I think everyone back home's asleep if they're watching this, so, thank you. George, you have anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick calendar items and a couple updates. We mentioned October 8th for the recreational marijuana hearing. That will be here at 6:30 PM on October 8th. October 14th, Village Hall will be closed. It's a federal holiday. Staff will be here. We'll be doing some staff training. Typically, what we do on holidays is that we cancel the regular voting meeting, which we are doing. However, you guys you're not getting off the hook on that one. We're gonna have a workshop meeting that night instead. 6 o'clock here tonight, or on the 14th, 6 o'clock on the 14th, and I'll send that out. Try to get started a little early. Again, that'll be a public meeting, open to the public. I've promised to kind of keep it more big picture, planning, strategic planning, financial. We're gonna have the auditor here. We're gonna talk police pension. Try to keep it away from development discussion. Sometimes that'll keep us here until midnight. I'd like to talk a little bit more big picture about the village financial picture and some overall projects and police pension. We're going to have the president of the police pension out to talk about our fund. We're going to have our auditor come out. They've reviewed all the documents and they're ready to issue a final audit report, but they have to come to the board and meet with them. So I think it'll be a good opportunity to take a step back, look at the overall finances of the village and the structure of our auditing and police pension. So that'll be the 14th. Can't promise the most exciting meeting that night, but it'll be informational, right, Chris? So that's on the 14th, and then we'll continue the 21st, our committee of the whole, and then October 28th is our next voting meeting, and that's when we will have the bonds on the agenda, correct? The parameter ordinance for the bonds, and then they'll be sold in November, or soon after that meeting, I believe.
Final pricing is October 31st.
Okay. So that'll happen on the 28th. Couple quick updates. You mentioned the Forge. I've been reaching out to the project engineer. We are working with, the Forge is working with our engineer on bidding out some improvements that'll be reimbursed by the Forge. If you recall, the widening of the road, the access road, the parking lot areas, and the bridges. It'll be 100% financed by the Forge. We're just working with them because eventually it'll become our improvements to bid it out. So that's you should see that next month. That'll be out for bid. And the board will approve it along with agreements to ensure that we get our proper funding from the Forge. So, I mean, this Forge, I know it seemed kind of out there when it started to some folks, but they are hoping for a spring, summer opening, and steel has been ordered, and we're going to move forward with our project. So some exciting news on the Forge, and keep everyone updated as we move forward.
Yep.
Lastly, I did want to just bring up, earlier tonight, we approved an ordinance that allows for the collection of a fee for excessive calls. I don't know if anyone, from a village standpoint, being non-home rule, the fire district, for many of their calls, they can charge their true cost for delivering that service, whether it be an ambulance charge. Sometimes it gets billed through insurance. We have limited authority to do some of that. We worked with our legal team on a way we can recoup some of these costs, and if they go over a certain threshold, and Chief mentioned, we've been doing it for years with the false alarm fees, and we're going to be using that same program for excessive calls. Again, I reached out to the agent for Timberline Knolls earlier this week. They're going to be, while they, this will be assessed over the entire town. Timberline Knolls is one of the only businesses that will be hitting that mark. So just to notify them that this ordinance is coming, and we will start collecting in October. So this was the first step in kind of working with them on
Let me
ensuring.
try another one on this one,
Yeah.
George. Bottom line is, we have no way of knowing whether or not a business understaffs on their security, and then they take advantage of our police department by making calls to them, so then we become their security measures. This is to kind of deter that from happening and make them look at their staffing problems themselves. That's the intent. In order for us to do that, we're trying to recover our cost incurred because of it.
Correct. So that'll go into effect October 1st. I just want to make mention, and we'll keep updating the board accordingly. Again, we have a limited staff. We're stretched pretty thin, so just trying to recoup what we can. Thanks.
Do we have any board reports?
I just might want to mention
Yep.
two things.
Go ahead, Dave.
We didn't talk about the quarry trails on the south side, so we talked about the Forge, but right now, the south side of the quarries is closed. The trails are closed due to the start of the construction on the Forge. I don't know if you want to talk about that. real quick.
So the Forge has been reaching out. They've gated off a section of, I think you may have taken Ralph's report there. That's all right, though. Sorry, Ralph.
I thought we were
No, maybe you have a better, you want to go through the closure for the trail, or? No, but there is more information on our website of when it will reopen.
It's just past the pavilion, just east of the pavilion. It's closed up for the construction. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're working with the Forge on getting more, working with, for signage. If you don't know what's going on and you go back there, it could be a little bit difficult, but hopefully, the signage will tell you what's coming, and we gotta, also getting our website up and operational, and I know Jason's been working hard on that, and Linda, so that if you do have any questions about the Forge or why it's closed and what's happening, you could refer to the website.
Yeah, we have a great Forge page right now under business and development. It has renderings of all the towers and elevations, as well as a little map to let people know how close it is to downtown. I will add, I immediately got calls after that Cranes article came out from business owners and brokers asking how close their property is to the Forge. It made a media splash.
Jason, how simple is it to get to what you just posted on the website?
I can make it extra simple, but if you go to
I've been getting calls about it, and I keep directing people to the website, so it might help us to put some kind of quick link or something.
Yeah. I'll get it there tonight. We could go to, check tomorrow, lamont.il.us/the-forge.
Right, okay.
It's under there right now. If you go to Business and Development, and there's a menu on the side of that page, just called the Forge.
Awesome. Rick?
I have a couple new business items that I want to just real quick cover.
Fire away.
All right. One.
Wait, hold on. Dave
Got
said he had
unfinished?
two
Oh, you
items.
weren't done with unfinished?
said two.
Oh, what was your second one, Dave? Go
He's got
ahead.
another
Dave,
one
your
left.
first one already took 5 minutes.
It wasn't me though, I just pointed it out. It went around the horn on
Go
that
ahead.
one.
You're right.
My second one is I want to thank
Second
Public
quarter
Works.
already.
They resurfaced the trail from Pollyanna's basically to K Steel Road. I think that's what it's called. Is it K Steel Road? And it on the south side, and it's a great job. And most of the people that I know, everyone I know that's taking that trail is commenting on how much more, how better it is than it was before. So I want to thank, since the team did a great job. So.
Yeah. And to follow up, not to take more time, but actually, Mayor Steve Straight from Lockport met with me today, and one of the things he wanted to talk about was the Forge. He's like, that project's awesome. How can we get better connectivity to the trail system? You know, we've been concentrating on our trails to the east, but also to the south as well, and he's very much for whatever he could do to get our grant to the bridge downtown, because again, their connectivity to us has to go on the north side, which then they have to backtrack over the bridge. So again, other towns are very excited as well. So, all right, we want to get out of here before the second quarter. So Rick, go ahead.
Okay, real
Dave, are
quick.
you done?
I'm done now.
Okay,
Wait,
thanks.
How about staff reports? Are there any- We skip those if we go to business.
Okay, all right, staff report. Chief, you got something, right?
I just have something very quick. October 1st starts hunting season. We get a lot of calls about hearing gunshots in October and November. The fowl season starts in October. The deer season is in November. It is illegal to hunt in Lamont, but the areas around Lamont, unincorporated areas, it is permissive to hunt with the permission of the homeowner. So we get a lot of calls. If you hear gunshots, you can call us, but know that there could be hunting going around in the area. We have a link to the DNR website that shows all the dates and the instructions and permissions on our website that you can link to.
Thanks, Chief. Any other staff reports? Ralph?
Sure.
You c-
What do you got left?
Yeah, just a reminder, our road resurfacing program starts September 30th, next week, and trails closed.
What starts
Okay.
that?
And they will be done this season? if-
Yes, ours, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay, and those projects will be
Here.
online, right? Those, yeah,
They are-
got it,
yeah.
got it. Hopefully, no rain, okay. All right, Rick, go ahead, unfinished business or new business?
Okay, new business. This happened just because I was stumbling around through the website, on the new website, and found that when you go to the village board, and you go down to the minutes, because that's where I was directing somebody to find some information, in that heading, it still lists our meeting at 7 PM. So I think we need to get that updated, and, because it says the second and the fourth, at 7 PM. And I have heard one or two people here say, I thought the meeting was at 7. So I don't know if that's just coincidental or not, but that should be changed. Chris, when you talked to Bob at Bernardi, another thing that came up just today with this long dissertation about the bonds, you know, he had a map for us one time on the time frame to implement bond sales for debt. I think it'd be helpful to try to get some kind of canned map from him, an illustrated thing that we could put on the website to tell people, look, you know, the reason they keep hearing the same things about these bonds is because it's a legal process that has to be followed, and here's the map. Boom, and we could put that on the site. And then last, Alan Brown, if I might address you directly, you talked about communication and the lack thereof and the minimal amount of people that come in these meetings. I've been doing this now for 10 years. I agree with you 100%. So I'm gonna ask you, why don't you come up with some recommendations on what you think would be better communication? Here's my card, phone number, and email. Send it to me. I will personally work on this with you. But rather than just complain about things, let's work on a resolution.
I have updated the website.
Thank you.
Some of the stuff on the website, slow, like, you could die before you actually get through it.
Okay, we do have somewhat of an excuse there because we are limited with our choices. We just, Jason, have we made the change over to
Yeah,
the
we're-
new?
We're
Okay, we're in the process of trying the other one to try to help us communicate better on the website. But in general, what do? You know, do we run a truck down with a blare horn and tell them the meeting's tonight in 10 minutes? What do we do to get people interested? Because there's nothing more upsetting than having minutes, talking about things here for 5 hours, and then have somebody come in and say, oh, I missed that. Well, I'm sorry, but it's there. So we will make sure that the information is there. The mayor talks constantly about things being transparent. It's all there. You just got to know how to find it. And if that's a problem, then we need to figure out how to make it easier. That's where we're at. I don't have any other items. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Anyone else?
And, well, just to follow, I know I'm the only non-Bears fan here, so sorry, I'm stretching it out. But, you know, I think we are updating our website. We are looking for input. We put out a poll code to see what works and what doesn't work. But one thing we've talked about, you know, with a potential opening on the village board, planning and zoning, downtown commission, we had, I think, total 45 residents want to get involved and filled out their applications, filled out their, and we can only fill a certain amount of spots, or we only have so many committees. Not that we want to create all these new committees, but, you know, I know Ryan had talked about a potential marketing committee. Maybe it's a marketing and engagement committee. Can we get, you know, people like Rick, you just mentioned about people who have ideas about how to get more residents involved, how to share the message. I'd love to get a group together, and I'll share it with Rick and anybody else who wants to be there, Ryan, on how do we share the message of what's happening. And we had 45 people who applied for committees. That's outstanding. That's people who want to get involved. But how do we reach the next level? And so we are open for ideas, and I'd love to see you on that committee along with Rick and Kathy, and let's brainstorm. So I think it'll be good. Good idea, Rick.
Well, I do remember years ago, we had the newspaper that people all got called the Lamenter. That just doesn't work nowadays, so what will is the question. What's the best way to get it out?
Agreed. Okay. With that being said, we're going to executive session. Before I call a motion for that, we will have action after the executive session for the appointment of commissioners. So with that being said, I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss under Chapter 5 ILCS of the Open Meetings Act 120, personnel, appointment 2C1, as well as real estate purchase 2C5. Is that correct? So personnel appointment 2C1 and real estate purchase 2C5. I need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee McClafferty, seconded by trustee Kwasniewski. Need a roll call, please.
Maher? Oh, wait, that's not you. That was last time, but that's what it says here. I want you to know. Anyway, you're still important in someone's eyes who typed this up. Okay, McClafferty.
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Kittredge.
Yes.
Kwasniewski.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, motion approved. We will now move into executive session. And like I said, after executive session, we will come back into public session for the appointment of commissioners, members.